Real Life with Abi. My name is Abimbola. Thanks for stopping by. So if you are new to my channel, kindly subscribe. If you've already subscribed, thanks for coming back. It's really good to see you again. Please don't forget to turn on your notification button so you can be notified when I post new videos. So in this video, I would like to talk about couples who live internationally. And by couples who live internationally, I mean one partner living in Nigeria and the other partner living abroad. It is often the case that the wife lives abroad and the husband lives in Nigeria, and a lot of families move from Nigeria to the US, to the UK, to Europe, etc. And first they struggle to settle within whichever country they move to, and then 2-3 years go by and they still continue to struggle to live within that country. The quality of life that they have in that country, they quickly discover does not match with the quality of life that they had in their home country. So let me give you an example. The family might well be a middle income family in Nigeria. The husband, probably a banker or an oil worker, works in an oil company, an engineer, let's say, in an oil company. He has a very good salary. He has a company car with a company driver and a company apartment, and he has completed 2 buildings. So he lives that life and his wife works in a bank. So now they've decided to relocate abroad. So they relocate abroad, and the man, for whatever reason, finds it difficult to find a job that matches that he used to have in Nigeria. So suddenly, from being this high profile professional in Nigeria, he's now having to do like a low income job abroad. So he's having to do this low income job whilst waiting for his papers to be regularized. The years come and the years go, and he's living this alternative lifestyle. They apply for their papers separately because they've been advised that this is the route to go. The wife gets hers, the husband doesn't get his. He continues to be depressed. So then he decides, because his friends are still doing fairly well in Nigeria and he's still in touch with them, he decides to go back to Nigeria to go and hustle, chase contracts, try to build his life all over and all whatnot. So he goes back to Nigeria to try to hustle, and will be coming and going from Nigeria to the UK. But his life really is now focused in Nigeria. But because they now have a family unit and the children are settled in school, and we all know that everybody wants their children to have like a westernized education, they've decided to make that sacrifice of the wife staying back abroad to look after the children. And the man goes back to Nigeria to hustle and rebuild. And then once he's rebuilt, they can be coming to visit or take the decision to relocate again. So now the man goes back and he's been in Nigeria for 3, 4, 5 years, etc. He comes twice a year to the UK or the US or Canada, wherever. He plays with the children and goes back home. And meanwhile, his papers are still being processed. So the wife lives in the, let's use the UK as an example, just to focus on one country. So the wife lives in the UK and she goes through life. She goes to church, she goes to work, she does the school runs. She now has a process for her life. She effectively is living the life of a single mother. Okay, and the man is in Nigeria, he's hustling, and the wife sends him money every so often, and so he has a reasonable quality of life. We all know where this story is headed. So you have a youngish woman, let's say the woman is in her mid-30s to early 40s. So you have a youngish woman living by herself abroad. You have a youngish man living by himself in Nigeria. We all know the opportunities are plentiful for a single man in Nigeria. And we all know that the man will have to live a life outside of just going to hustle. So you have to have some sort of social interaction, go out with friends, visit family, etc. And at some point, he will come in temptation's way. The young lady also who is living in the UK, she's going through her routine life. We all know a young lady will always get propositioned by a man. So you have this young lady living abroad, going about her life, being propositioned by men, and you have this young man living in Nigeria, where opportunities abound. So now, let me read you a couple of stories to make the point. So the first story is titled, "I sent my wife abroad for studies. She abandoned me and the children. Husband tells court." And the story goes, A businessman, James Onyike, on Monday sued his wife Patricia, a nurse, for allegedly abandoning him and their children since 2008. Mr. Onyika told a customary court in Garki, Abuja, that he had paid for a higher degree in the United Kingdom for his wife on the understanding that she will return after 1 year. But on expiration of the program, my wife decided to stay back and enroll for another program. On completion of her second course, she refused to come back to Nigeria. I continued to beg her to return, but she refused. Till date, she's still in London. She has practically abandoned me and the children, he said. He said his wife is abusive and conducted herself in a manner unexpected of a married woman. When I visited her in London, she was so hostile to me and the children. She never cared for the children as a mother would. When I told her to try spending a little time with the children, she told me that she does not have time and that I should look after them. She kept avoiding me all through our stay. We never related like husband and wife should. In fact, she even threw me out of our room, he said. That's story number 1. So the second one is titled, Nigerian Man Abandons Wife Abroad for Trading Her Virtues for Euros in Dublin. And I read, a man simply known as Ferguson, surname withheld, who traveled abroad to stay with his wife, has been forced to abandon her and return home after he discovered that his wife, Chiazo, was trading her virtues for euros in Dublin. PM Express reports that Ferguson pleaded with Chiazo for him to return back to Nigeria because he could not withstand the sight of the number of men coming to the house. The Abia State-born Ferguson recently returned to Nigeria, swore never to remain married to Chiazo, and now wants to marry another woman to live with him in the same property that was brought with the money Chiazo sent to him while in Lagos, Nigeria. The couple used to reside in a rented apartment at Ajao Estate, Lagos, before the wife traveled to Dublin, Ireland for greener pastures, while Ferguson, who was a clearing agent, stayed back in Nigeria. It was gathered that while the wife was abroad, she used to send containers, vehicles, and euros to her husband, who usually remitted back some money to her and then spent the rest on properties. However, when Ferguson's business was no longer booming in Apapa, Lagos, he informed his wife that he wanted to join her over there. It was gathered that his wife had advised him to stay back in Nigeria and she would be sending him money to invest. Ferguson continued to pile pressure on her until she processed his papers and facilitated his movement to join her in Dublin. PM Express gathered that after Ferguson had settled down, the wife then explained to him what she was doing there and told him that since he chose to come over against her advice, that he had to bear whatever was happening. It was gathered that Ferguson was turned to a house help and Chiazo never introduced him as her husband, and his work was serving the guests who visited his wife for pleasure regularly. When Ferguson could no longer bear that, he pleaded with his wife to allow him to go back to Nigeria. The wife initially refused and seized his international passport as she claimed she had warned him not to come over. However, she later released him after she got pressure from her own family and Ferguson eventually returned. When PM Express contacted Ferguson, he confirmed that he was forced to return to Nigeria and he had planned to marry another woman because he would not want to continue with Chiazo. These stories are just some of several examples I could have read to make the point. It is really often untenable for one partner to live in one country, indeed on a different continent, and for another partner to live in another country and often on a different continent. That is, one partner lives in Nigeria and the other partner lives abroad. Often, or at least if not often, it is known in some instances that if the male, for instance, was living in Nigeria, there's a high possibility of him, either by choice or by accident, starting a second family. and then there's a hidden family somewhere that will at some point come as a surprise to the wife. In some instances, it will probably come out after the man has died. In some instances, it just comes up anyway. But it is a fairly commonplace story for a man living in Nigeria to either by act or omission start a second family which then keeps secret from his wife for a length of time. Also, we've had instances of a wife, for instance, living abroad. The man comes to visit and suddenly finds that his wife is pregnant. Now, he hasn't seen this wife for 12 months at least, and the era of immaculate conception is long gone. So what happens? A fight breaks out, and if the man is stupid enough to get physical, he gets locked up. He probably gets deported or whatever, and then he goes round family with the usual storyline. So really, this concept of one partner living abroad and the other one living in Nigeria is something that has proven to be a struggle for lots of families. Now, I am not saying that it's something that can never work. Of course it works, and it works very well for a lot of people. But also, in a lot of instances, it has proven to be the precursor for the breakup of a family. So that's my take. I'm still undecided on how to wait, so this is where I need your input. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Like, share and subscribe. Please subscribe because we are now marching towards the 10,000 subscriber mark, which I'm quite keen to hit. And I'm quite sure with your support we'll hit that mark. So I'll leave it there and join you in the comment section. And I'll say bye for now.